Hi everyone. Sorry I had a little technical difficulty, so if you popped onto the first one, it's no longer going to be there. Taking care of that now. For some reason it gave me a little error message when I went to pop on here. So I'm going to get that corrected. There we go. All right, I think we're live and kicking. So hi everyone, welcome to my Tuesday, my regular Tuesday live. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2020. Regular Tuesdays I like to come to you and help inspire creativity. I love creating and really love sharing it with you. So I have just a couple of updates. Hi Sue, hi Angela. I just have a couple of updates before we get going. First up, I just want to let you know that the March Paper Pumpkin Kit, we are celebrating 7 years of Paper Pumpkin at Stampin' Up! So the March Paper Pumpkin Kit, if you are a subscriber, you're actually going to get 2 stamp sets with this new Paper Pumpkin in March. So I just wanted to share that with you. So they're putting in an extra stamp set for March to celebrate 7 years. Hi, Kathy. So the Sale-A-Bration second release that I shared with you, I have now posted on my Facebook page. Those begin availability in March 3rd. And that's the spring foil specialty paper. And then the Rise and Shine that corresponds with the dies that we had, the Christmas mug stamp set there. They have those two, and then they have this really cool Wild Dress, which I love. It's a great manly set. The Very Vellum Specialty Designer Series paper, which is a textured vellum. All of these are going to be, again, available March 3rd. It's the second release Sale-A-Bration. After each Facebook Live, I just want to let you know I do go ahead and upload the videos to YouTube, so you can check out my YouTube channel and subscribe, and you'll get notifications of any new video that's posted, and I'll post that link. When I finish up here, I'll post the link in the description of the video. Hi Angela, hi Kathy. So tonight we're going to play with this is the Happy Birthday to You Sale-A-Bration set out of the current Sale-A-Bration offerings. I just love this. And actually there are dies in that coordination, the new coordination product release that I also posted on my Facebook page, and there's some dies to several different stamp sets that we don't currently have. And then there you go, there's the birthday dies right there, so you'd be able to cut out the cake and the flowers, cake stand, and some greenery. But I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. Tonight we're going to do some fussy cutting. So I will show you. This is one card that we're going to make, and this is the second card. So these are both from that Happy Birthday to You stamp set. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with this is Flirty Flamingo paper here. So this card is a regular card base. So it's the 5.5 by 8.5. I have a piece of Whisper White that measures 4 by 5.25. I have a piece of the Flirty Flamingo that measures 3 by 5.25, and I've actually already run it through my die machine with that new embossing folder that's in the mini, and it's with the tropical suite of products, but it has just this great, it's like a basket weave texture to it, and I'm sort of obsessed with it. So I ran it through the Big Shot. That's that piece there. And then I have a piece of basic gray that measures 1 by 5.25. And then we also need some scraps of the Granny Apple Green and a scrap of white as well. All right, so we'll start with the card base. And just fold it in half like that. I'm going to take the piece of Whisper White that is the 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to ink it up with this. I'm using basic gray ink. And let me get a piece of scrap paper. Hi Denise, how are you? So I'll get a piece of scrap paper because we're going to come off this page a little bit. And I'm going to ink up my stamp. Sorry, that's going to shake my camera a little bit. I have a bit of a new setup here, so that I could stand, I sort of rearranged a little bit. I'm not sure it's going to work out for me. So I'm just going to stamp these flowers up the edge like this. So you're not going to actually get the cake, we're just going to get the flowers that are at the top. And that's what's going to make our border here on the card. And then one last one at the top. I'm just going to come in upside down and just put that flower at the very top like that. Okay, so while I have the cake out, I'm going to take my 2-inch circle punch and just punch out of Whisper White. And you can see on my example here, I have trouble with white space, I guess. So I wanted to put something in the background of this little tag that I made for the front of the card. So I'm going to stamp it, just this very top flower. I'm going to ink it up in the basic gray, and then I'm going to actually stamp it off twice before I take it to my tag. And I'm just going to stamp so that this top flower here goes on that tag. And it's just going to give it a subtle background there to that. I'm also going to take the base of my card, and you can see just to tie it in, I actually did it in the bottom corner of the inside of my card as well. So I'm going to take my ink and I'm going to stamp right on the inside with that. And I should have stamped it off. I did not do that step. It's all good. Still works. Okay, so now we can take care of this. I am going to punch this is the Starburst punch. I'm going to punch a circle out of the Granny Apple Green. And then I'm going to take my blends to this. So I am using the Flirty Flamingo. And I'm going to color just the flowers and some of the leaves. So you're not going to see some of this. So you just have to go in and color in the flowers and some of the leaves that we will actually see. Shading like we do. There's no wrong or right way. Just adding a little dimension to your flower. And then I go back in with the light and I like to just blend it in like that. And then we're going to do the same with the Granny Apple Green. So for several of the leaves, I'm just going to go and I'm going to hit them with the light Granny Apple Green. And then I'm going to do some shading with the dark. Like that. All right, so rather than having you watch me all that time through the magic of television, voila, I have one all done. I'll get rid of this here. So I'm just going to layer up these pieces. So that piece of Flirty Flamingo that I ran through my Big Shot in the embossing folder, I'm going to layer up with a piece of basic gray, and that's going to be layered onto my white. So you can, I made this 1 inch. You can see over here, you only see a very little bit of it, but I made it long enough so that I could cover as much of the ends of these flowers that I wanted to, because I didn't want to see like the top of the cake or whatnot, just so that you can't really tell where it came from. So I'm going to glue this piece down first, and then that'll determine how much of that gray that you can actually see, if that makes sense. I feel like you're really close to my hands in this setup here, but I do prefer to stand, so I may have to keep working on it here a little bit to perfect what I like. All right, so when I have a textured one like this, I actually like to use my tear tape. I think it gets in there a little bit better and really keeps it stuck down. Hi, Heather. Flirty Flamingo, and I'm not a bright colors person, but this Flirty Flamingo I think is my new go-to. I've been using it a lot, probably because I love those blends so much, and I just got the Flirty Flamingo blends, so I've been going right to town. Alright, so I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, which makes getting the backing of this tear tape really easy. Getting it off makes it really easy. And then I'm going to put my flamingo down on the base here, just like that. So you can see we ended up with a little bit thicker border here, but it all depends on, you know, how I had stamped my flowers. And then this whole thing is going to get mounted right onto my card base. Okay, so I'm going to take back my tag here, pull my basic gray back out. Now I chose a sentiment. There are some sentiments on here, but they're wider. So this Happy Birthday we're going to use in the next card. There's a To You and a Celebrate in this set, but I wanted to change it up, and I actually used one out of a different Sale-A-Bration set called Sending You Thoughts. So we use this with a great big wish for happiness. And I'm just gonna, again, I'm gonna ink that in the basic gray. We're gonna go right across that tag there where we had stamped the flower. And then we will layer this onto the granny apple. Okay, so for a different way to use some ribbon, I just sort of zigzagged my ribbon across the front underneath my tag. And the way that I did that is I just gave myself a little piece of tear tape. And I'm going to take a piece of this. This is the Whisper White crinkle seam binding that I love so much. And I'm just going to lay it down in that tear tape like this. Just zigzagging it as I go. So then it looks like the piece that I have is just a little bit bigger than I need, so I'll trim it down. And then I'm going to put my tag on with some dimensionals. And we'll just go right over that ribbon again. like so. So there you have it. Wow. There is card number 1 using that really pretty cake in the Flirty Flamingo. All right, so let me take care of a little bit of my mess here. And we'll move into our second project. All right, so this one's a little bit of a different fold, and I'm going to stamp on some pattern paper. So the card base that we have here is 4 1/4 by 11. I have a piece of Designer Series paper that measures 4 by 5 1/4. I have a piece of basic gray that is 3 by 4 1/4, and then I have a piece of Whisper White that is 2 3/4 by 4. So we're going to start with the card base, and we're just going to fold it in half. And then we're going to actually take and we're going to fold it in half again on one side, so that you end up with a mechanism that's eventually going to be a stand. So this is our card here. You can actually take it and you can stand up the card, so that they could put the card on display if they wanted to. So it's sort of like a little easel card there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to use is our piece of Whisper White. I'm going to take the cake out again. And ink it up, and we're going to ink it up on the front of the card. And there is that. So then I took and I wanted to switch up the flowers a little bit. So I decided to stamp on some pattern paper. So this is just our 6x6. It comes in the color families of pattern paper, and they're all the double-sided papers. This happens to be the neutral stack. So I took a piece of the granite gray, or gray granite, and I stamped the flowers. So I went ahead and I stamped the cake so that I got all the flowers. You know, you didn't need this, you don't need the stand. I stamped all the flowers, and then I actually went ahead and I fussy cut them out. So I have a couple of the flowers here, but I'm going to stamp it one more time and show you how I did the inside piece there. So I need a piece of scrap paper, because we're going to come off this little pattern paper. And I'm going to stamp so that I get that whole flower on my pattern paper right there. So because this is going as the mechanism on the inside of the card, and our pattern paper is a little bit flimsier, I actually took a piece of scrap Whisper White, and I'm going to adhere this down onto the white. So this is going to give this paper just a little bit more of a sturdiness to it, so that we can use it as the mechanism to hold the paper in place. So then we'll go ahead and we will, let me make my life easier here and just make it smaller. So we're going to go ahead and just cut this guy out. And I'm going to ink around the edges, so you don't have to be too crazy about how it is. But again, when you're fussy cutting, you want to make sure you're moving your paper and that your scissors are sharp. These little precision scissors really make all the difference. Hi, Chris. How's the weather in Australia? It's very cold here in northern United States. All right. So it takes a little more maneuvering because, of course, I've glued it to that cardstock, but it makes for a sturdier mechanism for your card. So you could skip the step, but I just thought it helped. And that's not going to fold up on you. All right, so then I'm going to take my basic gray. Actually, I'm not. I lied. I'm going to take my smoky slate because I didn't want it quite as dark. So I'm going to take my smoky slate ink here. And I'm going to ink up all the edges to my flowers. And now you can see that fussy cutting, you don't have to be too precise. And it just adds a little dimension to your flowers. I'm going to go ahead and do that to all of them. I don't know what I would do without all my sponges and inks. I do enjoy inking and fussy cutting. Okay, so there we go. So those are all inked up around the edges. While we have the basic gray out, I did ink the background of our cake here as well, just around the edges. And then I'm going to also go ahead and add some accents with there's some little dots that come in this set. And I'm going to add those around the cake as well. So these little accent dots actually come with this stamp set here. So I'm going to take and I'm going to ink these. So I'm going to go up here and then I'm going to not re-ink. I'm going to go down here and then I'm going to do it over here as well, like that. And then also, just to add a little something, this Designer Series paper is actually in the Petal Pink, so I took the dark Petal Pink blend and I just colored in just some of these little berries that are around the cake, just to tie in the color a little bit. Like that. Okay, so now this is going to get glued onto here. And the flowers, I'm actually going to want to save out the one that we put the white on the back of. That's going to be on the inside. And we're going to use these, and I'm going to use dimensionals on them. And I'm going to pop them up on my cake, so don't drop them on your cake. And glue them in the wrong place like I almost just did. So there's that guy. And then for the big one, I'm going to use a couple of dimensionals. Now this is where those dies would have come in handy, but I don't have them, so fussy cutting it is. And those go there. So there you go. There's your little pattern paper flowers. On the inside of the card, we're going to again use a dimensional and glue this guy down. And he's just going to go down in the corner down here. Now I didn't stamp the spots yet because, you know, no two places are going to be the same. But this stamp actually sort of fits right in the nooks and crannies of this flower here. You can get it right in there. And I stamped a couple more around the edges there. Alright, so I'm going to take another piece of that white crinkle seam binding. And I'm going to take my smoky slate to it. So I actually use the dark smoky slate. And this crinkle seam binding is so easy to color. If you haven't got any, you should invest in some because you could actually use it with any color. And you could use a sponge, and you could ink just with regular inks on this as well. I like the blends because it actually dries super fast and it's ready to use right away. But you could certainly ink it up with just your ink pads as well, and it would work. And you could use this ribbon to match any card. Alright, so it just takes a second to dry because of course it's alcohol based. I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to tie it in a bow on the front of the card here. And I'm thinking I cut myself short again, but we'll see. I always make this so difficult on myself when I could just give myself quite a bit and be done with it. Alright, there we go. Not too bad. And then this is going to get glued on to our designer series paper. I liked the dimension of it, so I'm going to go ahead and use some dimensionals. And on a big piece like this, you can go ahead and use like the outsides of your dimensionals. Waste not, want not, right? I love coloring that lip ribbon. It's so pretty. And it's so easy to color. Alright, so peel off all the backings here. And I'm going to layer this right onto my designer series paper. So there we go. So there's our little front. So this guy is going to get glued on to the front of our card, but we want to make sure that we're only gluing the bottom of this DSP onto this bottom piece here. So that's going to allow it to stand up when you bend your card. So I'm going to just put some tear tape along the bottom of my paper. Oops, I picked up some hitchhikers here from my pile over at the side. And here. And then I'm going to lay it flat and just line it up because it will still be centered on your card. Like this, we just haven't glued the top part down. And then there you go. That's going to open like that. And then, actually, last but not least, I did use on my original, I did use the happy birthday. And you can go ahead and stamp your happy birthday. Top, bottom, leave yourself some place to write whatever you'd like. So there you have it. There's our little easel card. And then our little flirty flamingo border card using this happy birthday to you. I love it, Sandy. I hope that you hope you show me what you make with it. I think it's really pretty. These flowers are super pretty. And I love the use of the pattern paper. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed these projects and that you will recreate them. Yes, this is a super easy easel card. All you have to do is find something to pop down at the bottom, and there you go. You have a little display card for whomever your recipient is. So they're kind of fun to make. Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. I hope you enjoy these projects and that you recreate them. Have a wonderful evening. Happy stamping. Bye-bye.